can just like play and color and, be in the magical moments of, just all of it. So that's what my advice is to all the younger parents or the parents that are coming to be. It's a second chance for you to go back and be a kid again. And I've heard this is true about grandparents too. Live through your kids' eyes.
Yeah.
They're true angels. And it's like what you see through their pure
Innocence.
Okay.
All right, ladies, tuning into another episode of Girls Gone Gritty. But this time we're going little or are we going big is the question. And you know what? We're kind of in the gamut of life right now with kids and their stuff. And being a mom, which all three of us are, there's a lot of stuff that comes up. So, we want to talk a little bit today about how you handle each of those incidences in life and maybe give you a little bit of insight as to maybe a way to look at things and tackle things that I wish I would have told my younger self that that I maybe liked that I did and validate some of those things that you're feeling at home to help you navigate the waters of little kid problems, big kid problems, and everything in between.
So basically, we're tackling little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. And be careful what you wish for, because you don't want to wish any of it away too quickly. And every stage and phase is amazing. But wow, it's much easier to have little people than big people.
Oh, little people. When I have one daughter, and as she was a baby, I'd always want to hold on to that specific time. And then she'd get a year older and go into a different stage. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want time to stand still right now. I love this time. And every year it's been going and going. And I always want to hold on to that specific time with her. And then I talked to my sister and you guys, and I'm like, I need it to stop right now because what is going on there, I am so not ready for.
Well, what's great with what's great when you have young children is they are resilient. They can just go along with you everywhere. They can be pretty much a part of anything that you're doing. And that's when they learn how to entertain themselves instead of, you constantly trying to figure it out. Let them try to figure out what to do while mom's doing what she's got to do. And, I guess my biggest advice to my younger self when I had a lot of little people is they're going to be just fine. I mean, as long as you're not overly close to a street or a pool or water or whatever might be, a trouble zone.
The danger zones.
The danger zones. You have to obviously really
Mm-hmm.
monitor, but don't over schedule and don't overthink every situation with your kids. Let them just be kids.
Right. Helicopter.
Helicopter, yeah.
Let them use their imagination. Let them go create a game outside because they have downtime and you're not putting 1 + 1 = 2 together for them. They're finding a rock. They're finding a stick. They're finding a flower. They're doing something organically kid oriented.
Well, they're discovering. Every time they go outside, you're introducing them to something new, or they're discovering it through a friend or another friend. And it's just life. Even as you're older, you're experiencing it. And when I was every weekend when Dee Dee was little, we would drive to Vermont every weekend.
I loved a road trip.
Get on the car.
Are great.
She was literally born in November, and in January we were driving 6 hours to Vermont, and she would be in the back, in the bucket, listening to tunes. We never were quiet. They never.
That's the kiss of death.
Be quiet. They're sleeping. Tunes were cranked. Animals were barking.
Cook in the kitchen. Yeah. Use your vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want your house to have to be quiet so your child can sleep, then you're beholden to the kid. Who's in charge here?
Controlled chaos at all times.
Embrace the chaos.
And how great was it? We would drive to Vermont, and every time we'd pull right into our favorite restaurant, and we'd go in and we'd go to the corner, and she'd be in her bucket, and we'd have this beautiful dinner, and she'd just be playing and rocking.
Life is never more free. You
with
think
the bucket.
The bucket is the
bucket's the best.
God. I think Abby, well, actually Mackenzie. I think Mackenzie went to every single great restaurant in New York City when she was between 0 and 6 months old. I mean, it was so easy. A baby Bjorn or a bucket. Get your child liberated. Don't just stay home and put them in this little protected environment. Go out and live your life. Live it with them. Let them be exposed. Let them be right out front, in the baby Bjorn and see everything that's coming
They
at
like to be
them.
front.
It's so funny. I don't really see that many people with the baby Bjorns
God.
unless you're in New York. Like I was in the baby Bjorn 24/7. It was my happy. I would go grocery shopping with them. Anytime I could be in the baby Bjorn, I wanted my baby right here
I loved
as
it.
much as possible if they weren't
I
in the
think that's why
bucket.
I have a bad back now. My kids were so big, and I think I wore them on my Bjorn a little too long.
Well, I kept my kids in the bucket a little too long for that exact reason. I was like, oh, I think the toes, if you just bend your knees a little bit,
jam
you're
it
still
up.
kind of in the bucket, so I can just pick you up and move you, and you can nap while I'm doing 9,000
Yeah,
things.
New York
That's
City with
Big strength.
in New York City without a stroller, it was the best. That's why the baby Bjorn
Yeah.
for me, I could carry my groceries. I could carry my kid. I didn't have to collapse the stroller and fold it and schlep it. And so it's like, take your child, strap them on, and go about your day.
My favorite photo is Dee Dee. I said, "This is your first St. Patrick's Day party," because we had the Bush Pilots, a group I was coaching, Vermont North pro team. It was awesome. Ski program for adults. And at the at St. Patrick's Day weekend or St. Patrick's Day, they would have car bombs and beers and Bob Bell in the back of his car. And it was the best party. And here was Dee Dee. I mean, fresh. She had her in November. And she had this cool Patagonia onesie on with fur
Love that one.
and like a fur pom-pom hat and was just rocking it for St. Patrick's Day. And I swear to this day, it's her favorite holiday.
Wow.
And she was there and in the mix, and she just is ear to ear in this cool outfit, like rocking with people doing car bombs and everything
Stimuli
else.
makes
Yeah.
you alive. I mean, think about it.
Really.
You could get your child overstimulated, which is not a good thing when they're young, but getting them exposed to like your lifestyle
Yeah.
at an early age, then they're comfortable in it.
Yeah. And
You
that,
know?
and it's the way other cultures do it. We're one of the few cultures that you see when you travel almost anywhere in the world where like the kids are out of all ages until whatever time of night. They don't like put them to bed. They don't get babysitters. It's like inherently like cultural and communal the way that they integrate children. And I mean I know that that's the way we try and live. And the times that most of the times what Farley and I would have sitters because our kids basically grew up together. We would like to put them together
Oh, yeah.
because of like not
More
only
fun.
not only the fun factor, but it's like my kids are different when they're around girls at that age. Like
Right.
they're gonna play different. They're gonna learn different. They're gonna, destroy my house differently than and then
I look at I
and
look
then
at
if they were without the girls.
I look at these moms that have like young people and lots of them, and they're always frazzled. And I thought, God, if I could go back to that phase in my life, I wasn't frazzled. It was so fun.
Oh, it's
I
so
loved
fun.
when they played flashlight tag. I loved when they were just outside. And granted, like we would have play dates, that would be scheduled, but really it wasn't super scheduled. It was just like an excuse for the moms to kind of get together and actually enjoy socialization and not just do goo goo gaga and talk about your child incessantly, because you have to remember who you were before you became a parent while you're a parent. And I feel like so many new moms lose themselves in this place where they forget who they were before they had that child. Live your life still. And, don't be so afraid of rocking the boat, and don't be so frazzled because this time is like so small. Be frazzled when your kids are, drinking underage.
Ugh.
Become frazzled when all of a sudden, they're aware of their sexuality and the hormones start raging.
Yeah.
Not ready for that.
Like there are small problems with smaller people, and it's like getting into medicine cabinets or, falling into a pool, and scary,
Very scary. Yeah.
Real life.
real life. I mean,
Real.
I lived it. I had
Yeah.
a child
And you
that
have to baby proof your house. You have,
survived a drowning,
Yep.
and, I gave back for that for years. So I definitely have been on both sides of the fence, but looking back, I just think it's such an enjoyable time when you have somebody that believes in the magic. Create the magic.
Oh,
The
that's so
fairy
great.
Fairy house is the best.
My God, I can't believe how many excursions I took little people on where I made them like lift up rocks to see what creatures, and everything was an adventure. Whether we went out in the backyard and we decided to take a walk, or we found woods and we hiked, or whatever. It's just, you're never going to get that time back where your kids want to hang out with you. They think you're amazing. You're like the epitome of their idol. They don't know how to, express it so much, but they believe everything that comes out of your mouth. They'll do pretty much everything that you ask them to do. You have no idea how easy life is with little people.
And then
That's
you
the
don't
tooth
even
fairy.
understand when it disappears. Like you're holding on to like the tooth fairy and the Santas and all of the beautiful magic of all of that. And all of a sudden it's like
It's when
a-
boys and
it's
girls can't take baths together,
it's a
sleep over
it's
anymore.
a flip of a
Oh,
switch that happens
serendipity.
so fast. It
Yeah,
happens so
and
so
they just
fast.
wake up one day,
Yeah.
like all of a sudden our kids used to spend the nights together, and like sleepovers, and I mean, I would bathe my kids with like Kim Swain's kids, and all of a sudden one day it was like, uh-oh, like I'm a little self-conscious.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
that's when like the little problems start to become a little bit bigger.
Yeah, for sure.
When
I'm
yeah,
not ready for that.
when
No. Well, listen, I have friends that have little still too, and they look at me and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't wait until like I don't need a babysitter and I can go do everything you're doing." I go, "Do you understand though?" I'm like, I sometimes can't leave my house and I can't like I
it
need to
could
get
burn down.
I need to get somebody to come to the house to watch the house and make sure there's not a rager of a party there
God,
or that there's not girls in the house. Like
I had a
you still have to
babysitter
babysit your house.
until my kids were, in high school.
Yeah, I still have
Yes.
a babysitter or like
Big problem.
a sitter, a watchful eye, so it's like you can't just be like, oh, I'm done because like they're not going to drown or fall in the pool or like get into the medicine cabinet. Like they're going to get into the medicine cabinet in a different way if you're not careful when they get older. Like
Right.
it's dangerous and
Bigger problems.
it's like you said, it's the sex, it's the drugs, it's the pure influence. It's, taking the keys out to a car that they shouldn't be taking a
It's
car
the
out.
driving.
It's
How about just
yes.
driving?
I was
every
driving when
Yes.
I was 14.
every single one of my kids has had a fender bender as soon as they've gotten their licenses.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
It's
Yeah.
a few. So it's a bigger problem. I mean, that we cannot express it enough, like with these older kids that are now adults. You also hit 18 and you're of legal age.
And then you don't have any rights as a parent, but you're still in charge of them, which
Yeah.
is again a crazy thing. It's like
absolutely crazy.
That's bizarre.
and medical, it's younger than that. There's certain times that I honestly think, and I'm going to fact check this, but I think it's 14 or 15 years old, where if they go in and they talk about mental health, the doctor is not able to divulge everything to you because it's said in confidence.
So
Which
ridiculous.
there's parts of you that agree, like of me that like kind of agree because you want the kid to feel like they can be forthcoming. And it's great because I know we have relationships where I feel like I would get to that piece anyway if they needed that kind of help. But to me, it's insane that like when your kids go to college, right? And this has happened to multiple friends of mine. Their child's not doing well in school. The parents paying the bill. The kid, you can't get any aid. The kid's failing out, and the parents aren't entitled to that information. Hello?
Oh, really?
Well, what happens is
Yes.
a kid has to go into the portal and has to waive or give their parents the rights to actually go through their portal and to look at their grades and pay the bills. And that just happened. I just went to Ohio State on orientation with Abby, and I was actually shocked. I was like, wait, I'm not going with her to her advisor meeting, yet she has an IEP. And I need to make sure that she's in the right hands because it was just a regular advisor instead of, like an advisor for different learners, along with an athletic advisor. That right there would be a streamlined process. But it's true. Another thing before you send your kids off to college, which you're a long way from, you have to almost have a legal piece of paper
Mhm.
that says, in the event of an emergency,
Right.
you have the right to act and make the decisions on your child's behalf. If
Yeah,
they're in
healthcare proxy.
a
It's
healthcare, a
healthcare
healthcare proxy. If
Yeah.
they're in an accident or they're unable to speak, you have no rights as their parents if they're above 18. So it's big problems. We can't explain how
it's
it just
insane.
becomes real, like
A-
really real.
And it's interesting to me where I feel like there's like a disconnect on like where society like again, if we take that example with financially, my kid, even if I didn't want to pay for my kid's college, it doesn't matter because they're still attached to me from a financial standpoint. They still want to take your money, but your rights you've got zero. And I feel like that's like the interesting thing too about like when kids turn 18, it's like they can't have a beer, but they can go fight a war. They like there's so
With the
many
draft.
like like there's so many
Yes.
things that make no sense about the 18-year
They
old
can be arrested
line.
for being, doing something that is illegal as an adult,
Right.
Yep.
but they can't have a beer.
You can't,
can't
have
have
a
a
high
beer.
noon.
No.
It's
And you can't rent a car. And I found
that's a pain.
I found out this other little tidbit. There's a lot of places where you can't even have a hotel room until you're 21.
yeah, it's annoying.
So wait, I can go fight a war. I can vote, thank God. But I don't have these other
I can't rent a
rights.
car, I can't have a drink, and I can't
Yep.
get a hotel room
But I'm 18. But you could send me off someplace
to fight.
to fight and die.
I could lose my life.
And die.
Yeah.
Like think
Right.
about that. Boom. So that to me, again, and your child is always your child. Like, and my
Mhm.
mother says this to me all the time. She's like, I thought when you got married, I would like stop worrying so like about you. She's like, then I realized I worry about you and John. And then, oh, now when then they have a family and it just get exponentially more especially from a maternal. I'm not saying paternally, dads don't feel the same way, but maternally, you have an instinct to be a caretaker and it gets worse.
Oh,
Doesn't get better.
My mom is taking care of all of us.
You're always a parent.
I
always.
still listen
You
to my
always have
mom though,
kids.
Always.
but I still
You're always
listen to my
looking at
mom.
your kids.
She says things, and I'm like, okay.
Everyone listens
and-
to Flo.
Everybody listens to my mom, but
Don't call her Flo.
yeah, she'd
Flossy.
rather be called
Exactly.
than that.
We'll
Yeah.
edit that out.
No, it's perfect because people know.
You flow her.
Aunt
Whoa.
like Grandma Flossie,
Fleur.
Flurry. That was a good one. But no, my mom takes the stress on of everybody.
Oh my God. But you
And
know
of
what's so
course you
funny?
unload to her every morning. I'll call her and I'll be like, and like you unload. She's like, I'm still unloading to my mom, and I'm this old.
Wait, does she not like Flo? I'm just putting this together because of Kiss My Grits, Eat Your Grits. Think about that. That's so perfect.
Yeah, no,
No, she would
does
like Flo
not.
because of Kiss My Grits, because she
Yeah.
is a Kiss My
Ah.
She'd rather be called shithead or something like that. That's
Than
what she
Flo.
says.
Yeah.
She does not like
Oh
Flo.
my God. That's
So when I broke
amazing.
my neck and I was in ICU, I was in the hospital in Reno, and our friend Matt went to pick up my mom, and she had a big sign holding up her name, and it said FLOW. So Matt didn't know it was, Florence, whatever. So it has this big sign, and she said she came down and she looks at the sign and keeps walking by, and then all of a sudden she came back and she goes, Flo? Are you looking for are you looking for Darian's mom? Yeah, are you Flo? Yeah, but it was FLOW. And
That's
it
awesome.
was hilarious.
That's actually spectacular. I think she would actually like FLOW way better than FLO.
I actually think that's I would like to take that name. That's amazing, Flo. You got some flow.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you can use that in so many
Flossy.
ways.
She started
Flow
a
is,
purse
you know
business.
what? She should actually
She
take,
should.
you got some flow into the flow.
Yeah, but she takes it all. Because you still unload on your mom
Yeah, well,
all the time. And
you're
then
allowed. We've given you permission. That's
It's
the other
true.
part.
it's like when you throw up, or if I'm thrown up, I'm like, I just want my mom. Like you just want her to hold your hair and just like rub your
Once
back.
again, little problems like throw up, like changing diapers, like doing laundry for like little clothes and little bodies. Now I've got all my kids home. The laundry is incessant. It's gigantic clothing. They wear multiple outfits a day. It's just a lot. There's
Yeah.
a lot. There's bigger appetites. There's more mouths to feed. There's a lot of food consumed. They like labels and name brands. They like to go to big, expensive places and dinners and concerts and
You've
get
taught
on
them. We've
planes.
taught them well. We've
Yeah.
taught them well.
I'm behind you.
So bigger budgeting issues
Yeah.
go along with bigger people as well because they know how to spend money. They do.
Oh, dude.
So I'd go back in time again and I would have like my Beanie Boos and I would sit down and watch the shows with my kids and love the shows just as much and know the songs and the characters. So I could actually relate to my kids and have a conversation with them about the shows and kind of incorporate like Dora the Explorer and Boots into all of our adventures. And I mean, it's just so wonderful to be able to go back in time again as a little kid.
Yeah.
We all
so
say,
innocent.
and
It's
we all
so
say
wonderful.
if we could go back and just like play and color and be in the magical moments of, just all of it. So that's what my advice is to all the younger parents or the parents that are coming to be. It's a second chance for you to go back and be a kid again. And I've heard this is true about grandparents too. The grandparents that were too consumed because maybe they had 5 kids that were all within like a year apart, and you're just in the grind and you're working and you're doing everything and cooking and cleaning, and you're missing like the opportunity to go back in time and be a kid again, live through your kids' eyes.
Yeah.
They're true angels. And it's like what you see through their pure
Innocence.
it's something, if we could all tap back into or sell or bottle, we'd make millions.
Oh, well, my mom, listen, and I'm going to say this too. Like when I talk to my mom about this kind of stuff, she'll remind me, well, she's like, I'm saying the same thing to you that you're trying to say to the younger mom. Like I would give anything to go back to the chaos you're in right now of kids in college and the big problems and there's plenty of stories that I have not shared with my mom about things that have gone on in my household because we've handled it, but
No need to stress
there's
them
no
out
need to
even.
stress them out. Like they've done their job, but my mom will say all the time, you know what I would do to get back to like running around and taking my kids to camps and, lacrosse
Games
and going to Maryland for the weekend and watching kids play lacrosse. And I mean, you're here now. You're almost a empty nester far.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh, far
like,
empty nester.
wow. I
This is
mean,
my
talk
first
about
summer.
transition.
This is my first summer that I've had back, and I'm crazed. I can't even imagine if I still had lax on my plate like club lacrosse, because it's just, we're in a really beautiful, okay, so with big problems there also comes big monumental life events, and I'm in such a great place where I'm watching children graduate from college and high school at the same time, and we're celebrating proms, and we're celebrating like big life moments because of their successes, and getting a job or getting an accolade because of a sport. So I'm in a really unbelievable place, but it all comes back to the discipline and the continuity you have as a young parent, and you maintain the integrity of your parenting style all the way through, and then you get to sit back and you get to reap the benefits and the rewards because of the job that you did as a parent. And right now, Pat and I are being rewarded, and it feels really good because we're so appreciative and we have such gratitude. We're so proud of our kids, but it's also because, we gave 110% as parents. And if we made a mistake, we didn't do everything correct.
Right.
I'd go back and do things differently. That's why we're sharing information with you guys. But overall, we've got 3 kids that like us. We've got 3 kids that like each other. We are a family. We enjoy being together. And I think that that's probably the most beautiful thing once you get into the big stage, is that you hope that your kids still look at you the way that they did when you were in the little stage, and enjoy you and want to be a part of you, and you continue to like thrive as a family.
Yeah.
That's what
That's the end game.
that's it. No, that's what
You just
strive
want your
for.
kids to like each other, and you want to have a relationship, and you want to enjoy each other.
Well, I have this wall in my house, and you guys know it. I have a big chalkboard wall that kind of keeps us a little bit on track. And the two things I don't change, and it's the Bernia's House of Gratitude, and I have the fundamental belief that like love is a given, right? For the people that are in your life that you invite into your life, whether family or friends, like you get love. That's what you get,
Unconditional.
unconditional. But 2 things that you're building upon every single day in your relationship are trust and respect. And like that trust and respect is being built over a lifetime with your children. And if they see that that's your guiding light and principle, which Farley, I know you do, and Darian, I know you with Dee Dee, then that is like instilled in who they are. And although you have like these blips of issues, big problems, I'm in a place very much like Farley, for those of you that know us, but I have one of my oldest sons who's moved out. Like he's come home from like not living. He's got a Colorado driver's license. Like he's starting his new chapter in his new life, and he's home for 10 days. And it's hard because he's missing like the glue of the Berenius household and knows that this is home, but he's building his new life. So, and I have one younger than Farley, so I'm still in it for a little bit. So I'm still in the driving around, and he doesn't have a license and blah blah blah. But I'm like also seeing the 10-year difference in my 2 kids and watching it like quickly like just evaporate away where I'm going to have one child who just comes home for like a week to 10 days at here. Like he's not coming home to live for the summer. He's got a job. He's hoping to go back to school. He's got like big plans for what his next life is going to be. And I couldn't be happier for him. But there's like that bittersweetness
There's a lot of
of watching
bittersweet
them
right now.
of
There's-
watching them,
yeah.
flourish and go. You got to let them go live their life. And you want them and that's the other part. Darren, you said about the helicopter and the bulldozer moms of today. Like let your kids figure out a lot more than they do. Like don't try and solve every problem. That would be like my takeaway from today's segment. Like you got to let them fall down, skin their knee, like figure out a way to get back up, dust themselves off,
Fight
be
their own
gritty,
battles.
be gritty
Fine.
about the
Yep.
way you are at 4 and 5 and
Be
20
gritty as a parent.
and yeah,
Consistent.
No, you have to be consistency.
tough love.
You have to be
Yeah.
kind.
Tough
you're not
love,
their friend
tough
and
love.
you're not their
You're
friend.
not their friend.
You're not their friend. And you're never, and you know what, at the end of the day, you get one mom, one dad, if you're God blessed and so fortunate, because not everybody does.
Some get two.
Some get two of one or
Bonus
what.
moms.
Yep.
Dee's a bonus mom.
Yep.
Lori.
So
Oh yeah, to Gus and Carson. Yeah.
yeah. Or some people, never had a father figure in their life and they find one later. Like it doesn't matter. But acknowledge the fact that you have plenty of friends. Be a mom, be a dad, do it truthfully and authentically. And like you said, you'll reap the benefits later in life.
And then you start watching your kids turn into you. And it's so funny
Oh
because
my
Mackenzie is now 23 and she's me. She's got my mannerisms. She says things, she does things. She's totally her own person too. And, I don't know that she's trying to be me at all, but you practice what you preach. You are what you consume. So, if you want your kids to become a reflection of something idyllic, then behave like that, because they are sponges and monkey see, monkey do. And I'm actually proud of the way my kids handle adversity and the way they are with other adults. And it's really interesting to see. I turned into my mom. I started really turning into my mom when I became a mom. But it's great to see when you really give this unconditional love and you make some sacrifices, a lot of sacrifices
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
Parenting's not easy.
It's not easy. It's
It's
a
not.
full-time job.
Jeff said the other day, you're reminding me of your mom right now. I'm like, oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for that compliment.
Thank you.
I know.
Yeah. And what Dee Dee's teachers and friends of her friends' moms say is she's just so kind. Like she's so kind and she's sweet and she's thoughtful. For me, so that's a home run all day long. She goes hard. She jump into any situation at any time.
Only children have gifts because they hang out with adults one-on-one. They hang out with
Yep.
everybody kind of one-on-one. So they become better communicators. I feel like they become a little more confident.
Mhm.
And, I'm not just saying this because I am one, but I look at Dee Dee, and, she looks older. She's tall, but I mean, she looks older than her age. She hangs out with older kids. She's not afraid of any situation. She's comfortable in her own skin. I mean, that's our goal. Like
That's her
think that
mama.
I think
As well.
I think if you can raise kids that, like I said, I think we had this conversation. What's the best compliment somebody could give you is to be comfortable in your own skin.
Mhm.
I think like if your kids are comfortable in their own skin because of the way that they've been raised, then you've done a great job.
Agreed. Yeah, you want your child. I
And
think
Dee Dee's already there, and she's
yeah,
9.
she's 9, but you want your child to whatever their God given talents are, and whatever their God given like inspiration and what they want. If they're using that, that's what a good mom wants. I think. I don't care what you do. Like I've said to my children, I'm like, listen, if you love surfing and you want to live in Hawaii and you're like shaping boards, I don't care.
Own
Like
it.
own it. Like you don't have to have some big CEO job. Like that's not success. Success is you feeling fulfilled, feeling like you're using everything that's possible within you
Being
and
happy.
being
Happy is key.
joyous
Yep.
in your day to day. And not that doesn't mean like you have this like, exuberance that is, you're going to have good days and bad days. You're a human being. But if you're like on your right path, I'm trying to help you find that right path as a good parent, right?
Another bit of advice that we're both in kind of right now. Actually, Jack had ventured in that direction before Mackenzie. But when you graduate from college, there's such pressure for these kids to get a job, to feel like they're successful as humans because they have a job right out of college. And guess what? They have the rest of their lives to work.
1000%.
And, truly, I believe that a gap is very healthy. Right now, I have a child that, has lots of job potential opportunities, but she wants to live in California. So it's not as easy to get a job in California in the direction that you want, if it's branding and marketing and sports and, it's just she's not settling. She's just not taking whatever she can get because she had a job in New York City upon graduation, but she just was being true to herself. I know you don't typically love your first job. So a lot of people say, suck it up, buttercup, because you're more hireable within and blah, blah, blah.
Because you have a job, you can get a job.
But
Correct.
she's got an opportunity that just kind of manifested. And it's pretty interesting because she could go to Australia.
Yes.
She could actually coach lacrosse and help grow a sport that she loves. She would get a year visa. She would coach from September to April. She would actually play from April until August professionally and be able to submerge herself in a different culture. She's getting paid to do it, not, big shack, but money that she can live on. It gets her there. They pay for her accommodations. And initially I was kind of anti. I just didn't want her to go fly over to Australia and not have a job and try to figure it out. Even though that's a great exercise. That's what Jack did.
No,
I mean,
no. Well, Jack went backpacking for 6 weeks by himself as a young man after he graduated college because he needed to see the world was a bigger place. Because during that time, he graduated in 2022, which at that time when he graduated, COVID was still like raring up in Rhode Island, and he had been shut down for 3 years. And I just saw that he had a very closed-minded view of what was possible. So he went backpacking Europe for 6 weeks by himself. I dropped him off in Portugal, and he flew home from
So cool.
Milan, and he learned a lot about himself during that time. And he came back, and he had definitely a broader, view of the world, but he lacked the social interaction that you usually get in college of like building friendships and going out and like being with other people. So, serendipitously through a trip, he ended up at a ski school, a base ski school, and is a level 2 ski instructor, which is how now he's in Telluride, Colorado, and got that relationship in living in a chalet with a bunch of 20-something-year-old people from all over the world. So he knows all these people. Now, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, he paid for the viewership. He paid for half. We used some money from like, his savings from college to do the college thing at the whatchamacallit training in Switzerland. But, you have to be true to knowing who your kid is. And again, I concur with Farley, obviously, where like there's not this big rush. Everybody's like, I need an internship. That's a great opportunity. Take it. If it makes sense for who you are and it's what you want to do, go for it. You want to live in the city like Chasey is and intern, that's amazing. Some kids hate New York City. That would be the worst thing ever. Like figure out what's going to make your kid tick. But my parents are amazing. I felt very obligated to not do anything except for go get like a real job after college, and having that space
that's old
and
school.
That
having
was not in my
1000% having space and time to kind of figure it out when you're a younger person that you can't go. That's the other part. You can't. It's very hard once you start to get on the hamster wheel of a real job to take a sabbatical or to like step out of it and be like, I'm gonna,
Totally.
because you started with big expenses. You've started with like, yeah, like you're gonna have to explain a gap in your resume. Like if you do it before, and the other part is that the people you meet when you get out of your bubble, and Farley and I talk about this all the time too. It's like we have this circle of amazing people around us. That's awesome. But there are so many other different ways to do things that you can learn by not being with people you know. And some
Oh,
of it you like,
absolutely.
No,
some of it you like, some
totally.
of it you don't. But you take those experiences and they become part of you. And that's a better story in my view.
Well, I'm all about going and exploring and checking out the world. And I was
Shocker.
lucky.
Have you met
Yes.
Darian Boyle?
Yeah.
.com?
So I mean, I was lucky that I had the opportunity to travel the world, not
She
just,
can't go anywhere in the world without running into somebody in the street that she knows. It's so crazy.
and we had a
Everywhere
great
I've
time.
ever gone, everywhere I've ever gone, somebody knows Darian. It's wild.
We've had so much fun, and I've been lucky because I've embraced it, and I love to travel.
I got very lucky too because here
Yeah.
I am, the only child that came from a teacher and a chemical engineer or an aeronautical engineer that expected me to like graduate and have a job. And I did have a job. I got hired by CBS. I had a job in broadcasting, but I was challenged to do something that no one believed I could do. and part of it was like losing weight and trying to get into model shape. So I decided to hit that bid, and who would have thought that I would have ever done that? And it led me from Miami to Chicago to New York to
Me.
to my
Wait,
sister.
Oh my
my
gosh.
brother.
Sometimes the
Destiny, baby.
freedom, yeah,
Destiny.
but like
You manifested that,
Yeah,
Darian. I know you did.
Sure.
but the freedom of like flying by the seat of your pants is a luxury. Like, don't forget as a parent to give your kids that ability if they're not the traditional kid that already knows what they want to be and where they want to live, and they just don't quite know. That's not a curse. It's actually a beautiful situation.
But
1000%.
some of those kids,
And they're true to themselves.
Some of those people have. I've seen my friends' kids. It's not in their makeup. They want to
Correct.
be successful. They studied hard.
If
They
you're
have a
wired like that,
they have a
1000%.
baller job, and their goal is to go out and end up running a company and making six figures
Kudos to
your
them.
second year,
Yes.
and that's great. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, go air it out for a year. Go explore at least, and what you'll find, what you'll explore. But it all depends on the people.
Right.
Like, we're all like each other. So for me, if Dee Dee was like, "Mom, I'm going to Australia," I'd be like, "Great, when are we leaving?" I'd be
Right.
like,
Look
"Mom."
Look at your
Hello.
brother. He graduated and he like moved out to LA or to California so that he could play professional beach volleyball, and he sold jacuzzis and drove a limo
That's
to make ends
amazing.
meet.
And had his enduro.
I
Wow.
mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's in your DNA if you're like a little bit of a wanderer,
Yeah.
a little bit of a vagabond. That's okay too.
Yeah, and
But you come
it's
back.
that's
You
the
come back.
hustle, and that's that's teaching you a hustle too.
Also helping you figure out who you are.
Correct.
Right.
And
Correct.
once you can kind of live independently or financially, you are independent. It feels really good. And maybe independent doesn't mean you're making millions. It means that you can pay your bills. It
Yeah.
means that you can put food in front
Health
of you. You
insurance.
can
That's
put
all I
gas
cared
in your
about
car.
ever.
Hey, and listen, there's people, and I know a lot. Like we have our
Budget
our
matters.
friend Thomas right now, who's Danish, who's going to be sleeping in one of our bedrooms for the next 6 weeks because he doesn't have a place to live because he's resourceful, and that's something else that's a luxury at that age where like you can couch surf and not feel like you're a loser because you know
Like
what
you're Kato Kalin.
Yeah.
you're utilizing your relationships and you're building relationships by asking somebody for a favor, and you're young enough where you can still do that and
Agreed.
not feel like you're sucking somebody, it'll be reciprocated, and that's not why you do it, but you know that like of course we want you to stay with us, like you're 23 years old and you're trying to figure it out, like
Sleeping on the floor of friends' houses when you're in the
great.
city. I'll stay in tonight. Just wake up on the floor, Allison Fry's house. Oh, like in their apartment, like, oh my God, I got to get to work. Go right to work in your cat suit. I mean, from what I hear, these things happen. But yes,
Yeah.
it's resourceful, having friends and exploring, and
Hey, that's living.
the world is our oyster.
That's living.
And we're shucking them all.
Yeah.
We're hitting it all.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see where all
And
your kids go.
Big problems don't necessarily mean like problems that are unsolvable or that are terrible.
Right.
A big problem could be like, shoot, I need a place to live in the city for my internship and everything's really expensive. That's
Right.
a big problem. But, so we're not talking about like,
Not
really,
problems. It's more.
it's just bigger life moments, more expensive accommodations, situations, toys, college tuition.
But there are big problems that can happen if you're not careful. And that's again where the parenting goes into, like unplanned pregnancies. Like that can be a big problem if you're a kid who's trying to figure out what I'm doing if I'm given that situation. If I'm given a great job that I don't really want to take. Like that can be a problem. That can
Don't be a hoe.
that could be a really big problem.
That is.
If I can't get a job and my mental health is being affected, if I feel like I'm in the wrong job, but everybody thinks that that's the job I should get because it's a great opportunity, but you hate it your every day. Like those are
always
big
hate it.
problems.
You always hate
You
your
know?
first job.
Not settling and being true to yourself is what we are projecting here.
Yes.
And it's very hard because if you grow up in a household of lawyers or doctors and you're the road has been paved for you, it's hard. I really do believe that we should go back in time and do aptitude tests. And I've said this before, and I have a really amazing idea. It's a business that I want to do where we test aptitudes, not IQs, but natural aptitudes where everybody has a strength. And that way, at a young age, you are told you're naturally gifted, let's call it, or you're just naturally good in this arena. And it might be 10 different things. And these are the 10 things that you could do with those natural gifts. And here's a path that you could go, in this direction. And it starts telling you different vocations, occupations that you could become. I just think kids need a little bit more exposure. I'm in the hot seat right with Abby right now. She's like, know exactly what she wants to major in. She's like, I've got 3 years of being undecided if I want. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Well, you want to kind of maximize your area of interest and take classes that are going to support that. But then, you start recognizing that some require 4 years of math. And, we've got to take into consideration what Abby's gifts and aptitudes are.
Sure.
Go with your strengths.
Go with your
And,
strengths.
and like, imagine if you went with your strengths and you were passionate about what you did. The world would be a better place if people actually got up and liked what they did and were doing something that is validating and gratifying at the same time.
Which is why I love when you travel to places like Switzerland, and I know Israel does it too. Because I proposed this. I went to DC at one point at a conference, and I proposed to them. They're like, "What would you like to do to try and help climate and help like infrastructure and all these kinds of problems?" And I said, I think we should go to a model where after you're done with, they do it at high
Peace
school.
Corps.
You go to like a Peace Corps. You go to build infrastructure. It's required. It's and only the top students go directly to colleges. Like, so you have to prove, again, working within your vessel of what you're good at. If you are somebody who's intellectually superior, because those people are born with that ability, or they've worked tremendously hard, they go to college. Everybody else, somebody else goes and they work in a hospital. Somebody else helps and goes builds roads. Like
Plants
you
trees.
plants. Doesn't matter. Doesn't goes picks up garbage, and you're given an opportunity to kind of figure out who you are, do some social good, do some community work, not only work within a community, but community of people you're
I like
working
it.
with. Like that would be, to me, a transformative thing that I believe this country should do.
I agree.
Because not every child should be getting on a train, on a plane, in a car, and going off to college. It's a tremendous expense, and it's not for everybody.
And sometimes you're not even mature enough to recognize the opportunity that you're being given. Like for me, when I was just at orientation, I was like, God, I wish I could go back and do it all over
Oh
again.
God, yeah.
And know kind of what I would have been really good at. And I would have loved marketing and branding, and I would have been in, a creative field. I would love to have gone back and really appreciated the opportunity more so than I did. Instead, I was an athlete and I was just like trying to survive and get good grades and have fun and all these things that you're not mature enough to recognize unless you're coming from a household where it's like such an extreme opportunity and they are making such a sacrifice for you to go to school so that you can excel and supersede where you came from on some level. But it's just such a gift to be able to go to school and learn about something that you could potentially do and benefit from it.
So wait, so that reminds me of the segment where yesterday's is today. So is today's Farley Boyle who you are and what you did? Like yesterday, what would you have done with it? Like, do we want to do that? Do we want to like kind of like say like if you could go back in time on your subjects, or do you want to just be creative with today's, yesterday's? What are we doing?
I mean, there's a lot of me that would say yesterday's Farley would still be today's Farley because I kind of like I wouldn't change anything. I would be smarter. I would probably have tapped into my education a little bit more seriously because I think as women, we are put in this situation where, we're just waiting to like get a ring on it. And I didn't like look at it that way. I wanted a career first. I really did. I just didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I was a broadcasting major, communications, it's kind of a broad umbrella.
Right.
And then I chose the modeling path. So it was harder for me to get back into a real career path. I thought modeling was going to open the door so that I could be a sports commentator faster,
Right.
And instead I went this way and that way and temped and got hired by an attorney's office and got the potential to get a law degree paid for. But then I met somebody that was older than me that wanted to get married and have babies quicker. And so you just kind of follow your path. But I don't think I'd change anything except for if I could have just recognized what I would have been passionate about doing, I would have turned that light bulb on faster. But I don't know how you do it unless, you stumble upon all these other experiences that highlight the fact that you're good at something or that you like something.
Yeah, sure.
It's life. You got to live.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
my go back would probably be like I don't think this will shock either of you, but like I loved computers. Like I took a course in logics that I loved. And it's like, it's basically like the on off switch. So it's either yes or no. It's very black and white. And I was actually really good at like my programming stuff back in the day.
You're a logistics coordinator.
And like I look at like what technology has done, and oh my God, I missed the boat on that. And it does make me happy. It does make me happy. Like that, like computer techie stuff does make me excited. So I think if I could go back in time, it would be like that. So my yesterdays, Jennifer would be like more nerdy. I would be more nerdy.
And Dare?
Whoa. Wow. Yesterday's me, I had a fork in the road back in the day because I started modeling when I was 10. And I was with Yasmin Bleak and Brooke Shields. And I was really into dancing and music. And because I was modeling, I was going to try out for the New York School of Performing Arts because I said, oh, you know what? I want to be a fly girl and I want to go into like more hardcore TV. In the meantime, my brother went to ski racing academy and I wanted to be just like my brother. So I ended up going to ski racing academy instead and went the ski route. So sometimes I wonder what would have happened back then. I probably would have had a giant boob job and been in movies.
Oh,
And
I don't know if you would.
in rehab.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably
In
not.
rehab.
But no, it's interesting, and I'm so happy I followed the path I did. And
Yes.
if I could go back, maybe a few lines, I wouldn't have gone as big as I did, or I would have went bigger, so I didn't get so hurt. But I love my path. I would do it again. At one point, they asked me to go to go snowboarding and kind of go that direction, but I'm just going with what I did, and I would do it again.
Yeah.
It's kind
And
of
if you
interesting.
do what you love, it's not work, and it's always been great.
I think the
And what
universe
we're
puts
doing-
you in the right direction and you don't recognize it. And I think if you are open, okay, to flying by the seat of your pants a little bit, not having everything so structured that you are rewarded.
What do we say? Spontaneity always wins.
It does.
And that's what we're doing
That's
right
what
now
we're
on
doing.
Girls Gone
We
Gritty.
are always.
And woo! Thank
Well-
you so much for listening. This has been amazing. Thinking about the littles and the bigs and the little people and
Little moments become big moments. Little people become big people. It's all amazing. Just stay tuned for be present for every little big situation.
And we want to hear your stories. We want to hear about like what your little problems or big problems, or if we can give you guys any insights, like feel free to reach out to us on any of the social platforms. You can also go to our website and support just the idea of being yourself by wearing some merch about being gritty. So we love to hear from you. And again, thanks so much for tuning in.
we'll see you
Peace
later.
out.